हेलो फ्रेंड्स, वेलकम टू माय चैनल सिविल इंजीनियरिंग नोट्स, चेंजिंग द वे ऑफ लर्निंग। स्वागत है आप सबका। अब हम बात करने जा रहे सिविल इंजीनियरिंग सब्जेक्ट कंक्रीट टेक्नोलॉजी का पार्ट 4 लेके। यहाँ पे मैं कंक्रीट टेक्नोलॉजी का कुछ थ्योरी डिस्कशन करूँगा। अगर आप हमारा चैनल पे नया है तो चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कीजिए। तो चलिए अभी स्टार्ट कर रहा हूँ। एग्रीगेट very important chapter. The aggregate is an inert mineral material used for the manufacture of mortars and concrete. According to Indian standard IS 383 1970, a good aggregate for concrete construction should be sufficiently strong, chemically inert, sufficiently hard and durable. The aggregates may be natural and artificial aggregates. The natural aggregates such as sand, gravel, cast rock are used for reinforced concrete. A natural aggregate, sand, gravel, cast rock. The artificial aggregates such as harness clinker, coke bridge, sawdust and formed slag are used for manufacture of concrete of low density. तो यहाँ पे देखिए नेचुरल एग्रीगेट, सैंड, ग्रेवल, क्रस्ट रॉक एंड आर्टिफिशियल एग्रीगेट, हार्नेस क्लिंकर, coke bronze, sawdust and formed slag. The aggregates according to the size, shape and unit weight are classified as flawed. देखो, the aggregate according to their size are classified as fine aggregate, coarse aggregate, cyclopean aggregate and all-in aggregate. According to size of aggregate, the aggregates are classified as fine aggregate, coarse aggregate, cyclopean aggregate. The aggregate which pass through 4.75 IS sieve and entirely retain on 75 micron IS sieve is called fine aggregate. Fine aggregate क्या है? The aggregate which pass through 4.75 mm IS sieve and entirely retain on 75 micron IS sieve is called fine aggregate. It may be natural sand, cast stone sand or cast gravel sand. Fine aggregate मतलब sand, natural sand, cast stone sand and cast gravel sand. The minimum particle size of fine aggregate 0.075 mm and the maximum size of fine aggregate 4.75 mm. A very important. The minimum particle size of fine aggregate 0.075 mm and maximum particle size of fine aggregate 4.75 mm. The material having particle size varying 0.002 to 0.06 mm is termed as silt. ये जो रेंज 0.002 to 0.06 mm is termed as silt, and still smaller particles are called clay. Less than 0.002 particles are called clay. The aggregate which pass through 75 mm IS sieve and entirely retain 4.75 mm IS sieve is known as coarse aggregate. The aggregate which pass through 75 mm IS sieve 75 mm IS sieve and entirely retain 4.75 mm sieve is known as coarse aggregate. It may be crushed gravel or stone, uncrushed gravel or stone, or partially crushed gravel or stone. तो कोर्स एग्रीगेट क्या है? क्रस्ड ग्रेवल और स्टोन, अनक्रस्ड ग्रेवल और स्टोन, और पार्शियली क्रस्ड ग्रेवल और स्टोन. The minimum particle size of the coarse aggregate is 4.75 mm and the maximum particle size of coarse aggregate is 75 mm. तो देखिए minimum particle size of fine aggregate 0.075 mm और minimum particle size of coarse aggregate equal to 4.75 mm. Maximum particle size of fine aggregate equal to 4.75 mm and maximum particle size of coarse aggregate equal to 75 mm. ये भी very important. The all-in aggregate consists of different fractions of fine and coarse aggregate. These aggregates are not generally used for making high quality concrete. These aggregates are not generally used for making high quality of concrete। तो यहाँ पे आप लोग देख सकता, वीडियो को पॉज करके, ये वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट चैप्टर। देखिए, प्रॉपर्टीज ऑफ एग्रीगेट, ये भी वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। प्रॉपर्टीज ऑफ एग्रीगेट, following are some important properties of aggregate। Crushing value, it is the resistance of an aggregate to crushing under a gradually applied compressive force। Impact value, it is the resistance of an aggregate to sudden shock or impact। It is sometimes used as an alternative to its crushing value to know the quality of aggregate। Abrasion value, it is the resistance of an aggregate to wear when it is rotated in a cylinder along with some abrasive charge by using Los Angeles machine। लॉस एंजल्स मशीन एब्रेशन वैल्यू टेस्ट करने के लिए यूज करा जाता है। साउंडनेस, इट इज रेजिस्टेंस ऑफ एन एग्रीगेट to the effect of hydration of cement and weather। अभी देखिए, packing of sand, the increase in the volume of sand, increase in the volume of sand due to the presence of moisture up to certain extent is called buckling of sand। buckling of sand कहा जाता जब सैंड का वॉल्यूम इंक्रीज होता, इस कारण से due to presence of moisture up to certain extent is called buckling of sand। The ratio of the volume of moisture and to the volume of dry sand is known as buckling factor। It may be noted that fine sand bucks more than coarse sand। Very very important। Deleterious materials in aggregate, the deleterious materials are those whose presence in the aggregate prevent normal hydration of cement, reduce the strength and durability of concrete, modify the setting action and cause efflorescence। The sum of percentage of all deleterious materials in the aggregate shall not exceed 5%। So guys, it is much for today। अगर हमारा चैनल पे आप नया है तो चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कीजिए। थैंक यू।